Hey, it's Sarah with House Copper. Welcome back. Today I am going to do a video that I've had some requests for, and it is on how I make the bottom of a pot sit as true as possible after it's been kind of bowled out. So this happens usually with overheating time, just bad luck, the copper being old, and being overused, or maybe being way overheated a lot, and the crystal structure of the copper has spread out and kind of expanded, and then because there's no place for the expanded crystal structures to go, it bowls out. And then that is what we say when we say a pot does not sit true, meaning it does not sit flat. So in order to true your pot, you do need to use a combination of pressure and heat. Now, every type of copper pot is going to be different, and it's going to react to the heat and the hammering differently. So it is trial and error every single time. You do your best. Sometimes the copper just isn't going to move, it's not going to readjust, and it can either not move at all, and you end up still with that pot that has that kind of rounded bottom, so it wobbles when it sits on your stove or in your oven or on a flat surface. Or you're going to have the opposite effect where instead it goes concave towards the inside, which means your interior pot ends up with like a little bubble in the middle, and then the exterior rim right along the radius of your pot, right where it hits the body walls, is almost like a well. And that happens too. It's trial and error. I am gonna do this in a pot that actually was electroplated, not tinned, by hand. So I'm a little nervous about the overall structure of this piece, but it has the problem in that it has been, it doesn't sit true at all. It's in really bad shape. It's almost unusable. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be applying a lot of heat, and then I'm going to be using a rawhide hammer to slowly flatten that base so that it sits true and hopefully doesn't bubble into the interior. You will also see me when I'm using that rawhide hammer, I'm gonna be hammering really fast. But what I'm doing is I'm going in it's almost like a Celtic circle design. So if you think about Celtic designs, or almost like a whirlpool design, you start in the middle and you work your way out to the exterior circumference in a circular pattern, but almost, like as if you had a pen and you never picked it up. And that is what I'm gonna be doing with that rawhide hammer. When you see me hammering, I'm not just hammering arbitrarily, I am hammering from the center of the pot and working my way in that kind of a whirlpool or Celtic circle design. So I'm gonna be doing that. I have no idea. As always, I don't like make these videos fancy. You never see me with filters, this is it. So we're gonna see what happens, but I'm gonna show you what I do when I do get this, and hopefully if you decide to use this method, it will serve you well and you will have a pot that sits true. So without further ado, here we go with a lot of heat and some hammers. Okay, here's the pot. Now I'm gonna show you, can you see how bowed out this is? It does not sit flat. It actually almost has, you can see it better there, it has almost dents. It's in really rough shape. And it also has been electroplated, not hand tinned. And it is thinner copper. Bob and I actually have done this using very old vintage copper that has cramp seams. And you don't want to hit it so much that the cramp seams crack and you have a world of trouble. So in a way, I'm lucky in that there's no seams I'm working around with this, but it is a tricky piece. It's Portuguese, so we're gonna just hope. You're gonna sit this on a surface that you have flat. I like to protect it with something a little softer so that, whatever you're hammering isn't getting beaten up on the base or on the lip here. It's gonna get hot, and I'll fast forward through this, but I'm gonna spend actually a lot of time heating as much of this surface area as possible with the blowtorch. You will have to do this before you retin, and you will have to retin the interior after you do this. If you had new tin, it will blister, it will discolor, it'll overheat, it'll bubble, it'll run. You want to do this as a restoration project before you put it over the tinning fire. And if you've already retinned it, you get to redo it again. All right, and so all I'm gonna do is I'm going to start heating the base for a very long time, almost until I see discoloration and oxidation on the entirety of the base area, because then I know that it's hot enough to take my hammer strokes and hopefully move that crystal structure enough to create a flat base without the interior, bubbling. Okay, this pot is hot. It's hot enough that I feel I can probably start to hammer it. Now, obviously I can't just randomly hammer it because it's gonna fall off my steak. Even if you have it on a bigger, flatter surface, it's gonna bounce all over the place. So unless you have a second person who can be your other set of hands, which there have been times when Bob and I do this as a tandem crew and it does help, you have to pause your fire going, because here's the thing, the heat is going to disappear really fast, so I do have to move really fast once I remove the constant heat, and I may have to, and you may have to, depending on your situation, you may have to heat and reheat this multiple times. Much flatter, but it did go concave. So now I get to flatten it back out on a flat surface. And there's going to be lots of back and forth between this pot and heat. So I'm gonna have to reheat it, even though it's still quite warm. I'm gonna reheat it and get this wrinkle out in the middle and then work on it, see the wrinkle, and work on it from the inside. So that's next. Okay, I've done 3 rounds on this, and at this point, I'm either gonna start missshaping the radius, which could cause a problem, or I'm going to just create more problems along the base, which is already really wrinkled. So the base is mostly flat. It's slightly concave, but we're talking like 1/16 of an inch, maybe. maybe. But bottom line, it's flat. And so it is usable. You can use it to cook. It will last, you know, untold generations, and it'll hold soup. So bottom line, you now have a pot that sits true. It's as close to sitting true as possible. There's no more wobbling. This will hold a lot of soup. And, you know, so heat, moving the crystal structure as best as possible. And that's kind of it. It's what you got. So if you have any questions, comments, ideas, things you've done, please share on the comment section. I know I'm always slow at responding. It takes me sometimes a matter of hours or sometimes days or weeks, but I do respond. So please share your thoughts, comments, and ideas below. And as always, find me on housecopper.com on Instagram, House Copper and Cookware on Facebook. Pick up Copper, Iron, and Clay wherever books are sold. And, you know, drop me a line if you have any thoughts, questions, or ideas for future videos. So thank you again for joining me here. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.